Welcome to Startup Health Now, the weekly webcast that celebrates the healthcare transformers and changemakers reimagining healthcare. My name is Unity Stoakes, and today we have a really interesting conversation with one of Startup Health's healthcare transformers, Willem Houck, who is the CEO and founder of IDX Ventures Clariflow. We're going to be digging into some really interesting converging trends, the consumer-driven healthcare space with the home test diagnostic space or home care market. Stick around, it's going to be a great show.
It is the duty of leaders to lead, of the creative to create, of the daring to do. The free world expects leadership of us. Its fate and our fate depends upon our leadership. We are industrious, inventive, restless, with the fires that burn within us. But I say that nothing is easy, and the best things are the hardest. And all our troubles, all our immense difficulties, now and in the future, can I say, be solved if we have the will, the courage. The future is to those who take it.
So welcome, Willem. Great to have you here. So just to sort of frame the conversation, I'd love to hear about Clariflow and what Clariflow is and what the mission is.
Right. Now, let me start off by saying that I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to be part of Startup Health. It's now almost a year. It's been a year, and you guys are fantastic. The team that you got together and network that you built is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Really,
appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
I really appreciate being here. So Clariflow is really the mission of Clariflow is that we want to eradicate enlarged prostate issues or delayed treatment of enlarged prostate issues. And that's a big deal because we're talking about a huge group of the population that suffers from enlarged prostate. 50% of men over 50 suffer from an enlarged prostate. But most
and is this a global issue?
Global issue, yeah. So we're talking about 12% of the global population.
Wow.
So it's billions of people. Well, in fact, it's almost a billion people.
Yes.
And so really what it is that men tend to delay treatment. Men are embarrassed. They're too busy. They think there's nothing wrong with them. And I'm one of them. I'm almost 50. I feel super healthy and I feel good. So I don't see the need to go to a doctor. I think everything is fine with me. But the problem is that in a lot of cases, you have this thing growing. The prostate is growing. And
people just don't go get it checked out.
And they don't get it checked out. And so what we're doing now is we're making it easier for them to get it checked out. We're making it less embarrassing. We're making it not time-consuming.
So how are you guys doing that?
Yeah, by offering this product that you can take home or can be sent to your home, and you just have to void, which is the technical term, into it in the privacy of your own bathroom. And the result says this is 99.3% accurate. It's clinically proven by the top hospitals in the world. And
you have FDA approval.
FDA approval. It's ready to launch, and this result says you're at risk for an enlarged prostate, which in many cases is benign prostatic hyperplasia. In some cases, it's prostatic cancer. It's prostate cancer. Both have, in an early stage, the same symptoms, which is a weakened flow rate. And so if you measure the flow rate and you measure the volume and you combine those two and you answer a few questions that we have in our app, that combination has a very high relevance for whether you're at risk for BPH, prostate cancer, or something like that.
So if we can just get more people to start testing, then we can solve a big problem for maybe 12% of the men that have this issue.
Absolutely, because we know that 35%, I was talking about delayed treatment, right? So the question is, how many men do that. So we have a few numbers there. 55% of men have not seen a physician in the last 12 months because of that fact that men feel that they're fine and they're healthy. You know, it's the women who take care of themselves. It's not, the men typically are much more confident that nothing is wrong. So that's one. The other one is that as a result, 35% of men who have an enlarged prostate are what we label treatment delayers. So they're the people who don't take care of themselves, who maybe know subconsciously that there's something wrong with them, but they don't go to a doctor. And that 35%, what happens is that prostate issue, the longer you wait treating it, the worse it gets. And it's nasty things. If it's not cancer, it can lead to incontinence, it can lead to sexual dysfunction, it can lead to kidney disease, it can lead to lower urinary tract infections, it can lead to all these nasty things that are totally avoidable.
So I think what's interesting is you're tapping into two very important trends here with Clariflow. One is consumer-driven healthcare, where consumers are able to do things for themselves or maybe give themselves a diagnostic or something like that. And the second is home care, home diagnostics. Do you maybe talk a little bit about the convergence of those trends and how important they are, do you think, in terms of reimagining what's possible and in changing and improving people's health and wellness?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So people should own their own data. One of your previous shows, they were talking about the financial data that with a push of a button, you know your 401k, you know your mortgage, you know your bank account, you know everything. What button do we need to push to know your health? There's no such button. So we're just a small contributor, a small building block in that whole house of data that we're trying to build, that we're all trying to build. So that's one. And I think that the trend is towards people, patients, or healthy people.
So is that your customer, the patient, the consumer?
Absolutely. So the consumer, we're helping the consumer because the consumer needs to know when to take action. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, and you know, I've been long enough now in healthcare that there are very fine lines between certain terminologies. So it's not a diagnostic. The proper term would be it's a screening.
Okay.
So the screening tells you, am I at risk? Do I need to do something? Or am I fine? Whereas right now, what we've been telling all these men, we've been telling them, go have yourself checked out. Big step.
And then nobody goes.
And then nobody goes. And I understand. Again, I'm one of them.
They don't have time. They're embarrassed. All the things you mentioned.
Yeah. And this is a low barrier because you order it online. It's $20. You do the test at home. You enter the results online, and you get a direct response. So it's a very low barrier. And the good thing is that once men see that result, it's a machine, it's a computer, it's credible, it's been tested. Once they see that result, they go.
So tell us a little bit about the genesis of this idea. How did you come upon it? I think you have a very interesting background. You were an executive at Philips. You've worked in a lot of different areas over the last many years. How did you decide to start Clariflow, and how did this journey begin for you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so at Philips, one of the responsibilities that I had was I was responsible for the incubator program. And Philips back then was a lighting, medical devices, and electronics, consumer electronics company. So I was looking at, how can we combine those three? And so there's a lot of ideas that came up in the healthcare and the consumer health space. So I had a lot of experience seeing what goes wrong and what goes right and what works and what doesn't work and all that. And one of the real lessons that I learned there is that the idea has got to be big. It's got to be a big market, but it's got to be simple. Because you're not only selling it to the professor of urology, in my case, in Clariflow's case, who understands what the relationship is between flow rate and potential disease, but you're also selling it. You also have all these other stakeholders that you need to engage.
Including the consumer.
Including the consumer, not the least the consumer. So the consumer needs to understand what it is. Doesn't need to be bothered with all the background, all the technology behind it. And I love the Apple, everybody comes with the Apple example, but nobody understands the technology behind when iTunes came out.
People don't care about the technology. They
But you
want
don't
the
care about-
experience.
Exactly, and the experience, and it works. So this is an experience that works. So I came across this Clariflow. It was a different name, and we retooled it. We reimagined the entire business plan.
So did
But
you
the
see it as a
product-
big, simple idea at the beginning, or was it
Yes,
clear?
so it was originally developed by AstraZeneca, and
The technology.
the technology. And so big companies can be sometimes not see the opportunity.
So there was
that
this
others-
innovative solution trapped somewhere,
Yes,
and you saw the potential.
and I saw the potential. And the potential is, and I have to say that back in 2011, it wasn't as clear a potential as now in 2015. Because back in 2011, it seems like ages ago.
Right.
But consumer healthcare, in 2011, it was much smaller of an opportunity than we see now. And I'm not claiming that I saw the big opportunity in 2011, but I saw an opportunity. And at the same time, in those last few years, the opportunity. So it's, I always say a startup is either too late or too early,
Right.
but rarely on time. And
So where's Clariflow?
I feel that it's on time because we're developing and we're launching now that consumer health is really taken seriously. Because that big healthcare system can work against you. However, the healthcare system right now, given this environment, recognizes that there's this thing like consumer health. Not in the last place because of efforts like Startup Health, but people see it. Apple Eye Health. People see that things are changing. People see the need, the affordable care, the accountable care organizations.
yeah.
The ACOs are trying to engage the patient before and after their stay in the hospital,
Right.
in order to make that stay in the hospital as short and efficient as possible. So that's what we're tapping into.
I want to go back to something you said. I think it's really interesting. You were an executive at Philips. You spotted this technology that came out of AstraZeneca. What would your advice be to maybe other executives that are working within some of these larger organizations? They might be hospitals, they might be technology companies, could even be consumer packaged good companies that are sitting on all this innovation that may be locked away somewhere. What advice would you have to others that may be able to unleash some of that?
It's all about collaboration. It's all about opening up. It's all about engaging with entrepreneurs, with the stakeholders, with people who are innovative in the system. big companies can no longer be closed
Like
in.
a closed system.
And they have to open up. And I understand that there's a difference between a business unit that has to perform and it has to churn out, a certain revenue. But on the other hand, there should be another leg in that organization that builds the bridge between the outside world.
So
and the inside world.
entrepreneurs, startups,
Exactly.
others that are focusing on really unleashing and leveraging in those solutions that may be trapped
And
away.
the smart companies are doing that. And it's not easy because an entrepreneur is, and I know it myself, I've never recognized that I was an entrepreneur when I was in large corporations. I never thought that I was one.
Do you consider
Now,
yourself an entrepreneur now?
I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
And I know that the life of an entrepreneur has deeper lows and higher highs than the life of maybe a corporate executive. However, you learn to deal with that as well. When you go through a deep low, you know that tomorrow is going to be better.
So would you recommend becoming an entrepreneur to other executives, or who would you recommend take the leap?
Good question. I think it's that's a good one. I don't think it's for everybody. I think good executives are very necessary in large organizations. I think large organizations are there to stay. I think they need to change a little bit, so they need to open up a little bit, but they're not going to go away and be replaced by entrepreneurs. But entrepreneurs are there to collaborate with big organizations because big organizations are going to be there, and healthcare is a 2.8 trillion industry, twice the size of energy in America. So it's not going to be all entrepreneurs, and we will be the dominant factor in this industry. It's going to be about collaboration, and I believe that maybe I wasn't the best corporate executive, maybe I'm not the best entrepreneur, but I'm certainly a good a person that builds that bridge between those two
It's
entities.
an interesting concept because I think in healthcare, you go to Silicon Valley and in the tech world, and I think the idea is often to completely disrupt or disintermediate or go around the established player, and oftentimes try to destroy them. It seems that in healthcare, a different approach is necessary, and there's a lot of collaboration, as you say, that's required in order to truly get your solution to market or make a big impact. So there's a necessity, if you will, to bridge that gap between the disruption or the innovation and the startup and what they're trying to do and the established players. Would you agree with that? What do you think is required to really be most successful in building a great healthcare company?
So and I completely agree with that. So one of the major forces in healthcare is our regulatory forces. So, for example, the FDA. And so I was involved in an earlier startup that came out of Columbia University that was a biological pacemaker. Early stage, concept was proven, but we had to go through phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. The problem, so I got really deep into the weeds there, and the problem is that it's so hard to predict what the FDA requirements are that it makes those investments from an investor point of view, from VC point of view, very, very risky. And that is something that I would appeal to the regulatory agencies, that they have to adapt to this new world as well and make it more attractive for those early stage, groundbreaking technologies. because right now what happens is they remain groundbreaking, but they won't make it, or they're not going to make it for a while to the marketplace.
What do you think's needed? Faster sort of timeframes in terms of regulatory bodies keeping pace with the speed of innovation, less regulation. What are some of the things that you're either seeing where the market's going or that are still needed today in regards to that?
Government needs to be predictable. I'll give you an example from a completely different space, which is solar energy. The highest solar energy yield in Europe is in Germany. Well, I know you know where Germany is. It's not very sunny there. No. I grew up a little bit west of Germany, and one of the reasons that I'm here is the glorious sun in New York City. It's not very sunny there, but the German government, has been so predictable and reliable in their regulatory actions that the field was a very good field to invest in. That needs to happen in healthcare too. So the field needs to be more predictable and reliable for venture money to be even earlier stage.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I liked Clariflow, because that came a little bit after this, that I started this business, this biological pacemaker business, is that we had cleared all the regulatory approvals.
So that checkbox was done.
Yeah, and so it's really simple. It's straightforward. It's ready to market. However, my ambition is definitely to also take on those harder and more more regulated issues.
So what's next for Clariflow? Paint a picture of, if you could wave a magic wand, with the future of what you achieve with Clariflow.
Yeah, so I'm going to disappoint you, because I'm all about focus, and I want to get this launched, established, and successful before I. It's not that I don't
before
think
you dominate the world. Yeah,
it's not that I don't think about anything else, but So when we present this to again, stakeholders, investors or urologists or others, everybody has an idea, and you can think about ideas. Once you collect the urine of a patient, you can do a lot of things with that. We're now talking about flow rate for a male patient, but flow rate for a female patient is also important, and you can do a lot of things with that. And so I have all those ideas.
With the data, or with the sort of, maybe paint a picture of what might be possible on a population health level, or even a personalized medicine level, where you're screening someone over time in their own home with a solution like Clariflow's.
Exactly. So once you collect the data, once you have that device in the homes of people, and once people start trusting that device and start getting used to collecting their own urine samples, and once you have that mechanism in place, I think it'll open up a large number of opportunities for other disease screening.
That will be able to impact their health in positive ways. Well, shifting gears a little, you've been on the executive side. You're an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. What are some of the 2-3 biggest lessons learned or pieces of advice you might give to an entrepreneur just starting out today, who's has an idea, maybe spots a great solution or innovation trapped within maybe a corporate environment, or has their own idea and they want to get started? What would you recommend they prepare for?
One of the things that I think you guys do fantastically well, and I thought I had figured it out myself, but every time that I go to one of the quarterly meetings or I speak to you or Steve or others, is you guys make sure that I even make my statements about my product even more simple and straightforward and devoid of any unnecessary wording. That's really important. So you have to be very simple and straightforward with your idea and not over-explain before you're asked, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is...
so clarity of message and...
Clarity of message is key. Another thing that I mentioned is focus. Everybody should try and want to change the world, but wasn't it Gandhi who said that it's the first step that every big travel starts with the first step? So you have to define that first step and make sure that you take that step well. So that's another one. A third one is in collaboration. We talked about that a little bit, but collaboration with large entities. You have to...
And is there a trick to that? Is there beyond recognizing up front that it's a very long journey and the sales cycles or relationship cycles can be very, very long, is there a secret method to collaborating with some of the biggest brands in the world?
Well, the thing is, you have to recognize, by definition, you're engaging them with something that's new. And something new in a large organization doesn't have a home. So you have to find somebody who is willing in that organization to be your mentor in that organization, to navigate that organization for you or with you.
So find an internal champion, or
right. And because you can't find, the chief product manager for Clariflow, because he or she doesn't exist.
Right.
Somebody needs to say, hey, we can host it here, or so and so would do it there, and so that's very important. So in large organizations, they're hard to navigate because they're complicated and complex. It's not the people are not good. It's just the organization is sometimes too big for your opportunity. So you need to identify somebody who is willing to put the time in it and to be the what was it called, the flag bearer, or
right.
The one who
mentors carries
you.
It up the pole. Yeah. So some lightning round questions here. Just to wrap things up here, do you have a favorite book that you recommend maybe to other entrepreneurs, to other innovators, or that you find yourself gifting to other people all the time?
That's difficult. So what I do, the reason that I
or blog or philosophy articles, something that would be useful to others.
So the blog that I really like is Susskind. What's his name? Mark Susskind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I really like that because he writes from both vantage points, and he writes really well and clearly. Books, I tend to read books. I'm a history buff. I tend to read books that have not necessarily much relevance, or maybe they do, but they're not in the business section.
Right.
One motto that I go by is actually from a book, and that is only the paranoid survive. So I'm very.
So you're very paranoid.
I am paranoid, yeah. So I'm very suspicious.
And how can you use that to your advantage as you're building your business?
Because it creates a constant sense of urgency. I'll give you an example. I haven't seen a Clariflow look-alike. I haven't seen it in the clinical trial databases. I haven't seen it in patent applications. I haven't seen it anywhere. But I know it's there.
Right.
So I know that I want to launch yesterday instead of today, but I want to launch big, and so that's where I apply only the paranoid survive. Because I could also say, look, I'm the only one. I'm patented in 35 countries, so we'll take it easy, and I don't think that is going to work.
I get it. So where can people learn more about Clariflow? Where can people get in touch with you and get involved with your mission and help Clariflow succeed?
So it's Willem, Willem, at clariflow.com. Clariflow is Clariflow, and www.clariflow.com. They can also go to the Startup Health website, where we've been listed for almost a year now.
Yes.
And
Well, thank you so much for everything you're doing, both as an entrepreneur and healthcare transformer. But this is a very important mission, a big problem globally. And I think as we talked about earlier, just the opportunity to even change behavior on a larger scale and make more screenings and tests like this available in the privacy of people's own homes can really impact people in positive ways. So thank you for everything that you're doing. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will see you next week.